What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Mix. My name is Annie K. Anderson, and I am so excited to introduce our guest today. He is someone who wears many hats in the music business and wears them all with intention and impact. From studio to boardroom, he's been instrumental in shaping the success of some of the biggest names in hip-hop. Is general manager of Generation Now, the powerhouse label behind artists like Jack Harlow, Lil Uzi, and most recently Kai Cash. He blends business acumen with a deep passion for artist development. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Royce Monroe in the mix.
That was the best introduction.
Stop!
Wow. I need you to send that to me. I need to put that on my one sheet.
Yes.
No, but thank you for having me, though.
Of course, it is a pleasure. I'm so excited to have you here. I feel like this is going to be a very informative episode, and I'm so happy.
We're going to see now.
So, essentially, I like to start off with a little bit of background about my guest. Mm-hmm. And the first question that I have for you is, what was the first, real entry point for you into music where you thought I could really build a career off of this?
It's when I was in high school, my brother was a DJ. And so he was a DJ, which led me to working at a radio station. But then we used to throw these parties. And when we threw these parties, it was my first time seeing, like a lot of money type of thing. So, and as a kid, mind you, 10, 20,000 when you're in high school, you think you're rich.
Absolutely.
Especially back then, not like how things is priced now, you know what I'm saying? So that was the entry point where it was just like, I realized that there was money in people enjoying music. So that's what made me want to kind of learn something to be a part of that world.
Yeah, absolutely. So was there ever a moment where, it got hard, or where you thought maybe this isn't the career for me?
I'm not gonna say that, because initially when I started, again, being in high school, you really didn't have to put too much pressure on it. You were just kind of seeing the results of it. But when I was about to graduate high school, my mom sat me down and she was like, "Look, you having that future life conversation," and she's like, "I don't care what you want to do, but whatever you want to do, you got to really do it, because." It's not like we was living in a homeless shelter, but we were, wasn't nobody rich. So wasn't no house or room to come back to. Once you leave the house, you're gone type of thing.
Dang.
So it was just more of that motivation of I come from a small town. So it's it was like big city dreams where it's I ain't got nothing, I ain't no plan B. It's the plan. You know?
It's got to happen. I definitely can relate to that. Like I was telling you, I'm from the Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm. Very, very small there. So I can definitely relate. Your mom was also working in radio as well, right? Or
she was
in some capacity?
She was an office manager at a radio station, the same radio station that my brother started working at. So I was always there hanging out.
Okay.
And eventually it's like the radio station owner, he wanted his son to do radio. Me and him was the same age, but his son did not care about being on the air. You feel me? So mind you, we maybe 13, 14 or something like that. So, and I'm I'm with it, because I'm cracking jokes. I don't know how to work nothing, but I love to just put.
You got the personality.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course, so. Yeah, I definitely get that. So from that, you then went on into engineering and studio work. And how did being hands-on behind the boards help you shape artists now?
It's more in the beginning stages, I was really just focused on getting better. As instrumental and as guiding and directing as I am these days, it wasn't so much of that when I was younger, because it was more I just want to be good enough to be enough to stay in it, to where I don't have to chase after it. It's I'm requested, so all I got to do is continue to do a good job. Right. So when I became an engineer, it was really more of everybody's, tries to be an artist at some point. Luckily, when I was trying to be an artist, it was still CDs, so there's no evidence of anything I ever did. You know what I'm saying? But
in a vault.
But the engineers and people was working with me for, so I was just hey, whatever. These are my skill sets. If this is what we working on, then let's go.
Okay. So, do you have any memorable stories that you can share about working with artists in the studio?
You might have to be a little bit more specific than that, because it's a lot of stories, but some of them ain't. You feel me? It's the off-camera story versus the on-camera story. I need something else to go off
What's
of. And nigga.
okay? What's the most wild but still shareable that you can share? Is if there's
Wild but
any?
still shareable.
Yeah, like not like so crazy. We're like
Um, I don't think I can share none of these stories.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because anything that's wild, it's like I don't know if we can share that. But
How about this? Have you ever been like what's one artist that you've worked with where you're like, wow, I'm really in the studio with this artist? Have you had
I
that
think
moment yet?
yeah, I think it was a time where I was younger and I got called. It was like 3 a.m. It was like, hey, we want to fly you to Virginia to go record Chris Brown, and I was just like, word. It was like, yeah. So I was working at a call center at the time. I remember I still got up and went to work, and I'm at the desk because I had never got the flight confirmation or whatnot. And then they
Yeah.
called me at like 10 a.m. Like, yo, your flight's at 1:30.
What?
I don't know what I said, but I was gone. I was like, Verizon, I
That
love
is
you,
it.
but I'm finna go record Chris Brown. You know what I'm saying? So,
Nah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love to hear like stories like that because it really just shows like where people come from. Like you're saying, like you were working at Verizon and stuff. All it takes is one moment, one person to see you for.
what it is, good things happen all the time, but great things happen all at once. So it's like you kind of got to build your history. The history that you create going to determine your future possibilities, basically. So it's like as long as something good happens every 2 weeks or so, that's in the direction of what you're trying to do, it's confirmation to keep doing. You got to earn it though. That's why it's like you got to work the day job and chase the dream. It ain't just I'm gonna rely on the dream to pay me because it don't work like that.
That's very real. I was actually speaking with a artist in a previous episode, Kanari, and she was saying that like the two kind of balance her in the sense where like she can't have her artist life without her day-to-day life, and she can't have her day-to-day life without her artist life because it gives her something to look forward to in terms of both. So
The
yes,
muse.
yes,
She was a
exactly.
muse.
So let's talk about your role as the general manager at Generation Now.
Okay.
Generation Now has become a real tastemaker label. What does your day-to-day life look like managing such high-profile talent, or managing a label in general?
I mean, it's really a lot of communication. Like in my position, it's more about communicating with everybody so everybody understands what everybody's doing. It's essentially project management, and then outside of that, the running the logistics of the company is a whole thing in itself. Whether it be just overhead, payroll, whatever the case may be, it's running a business in totality. Now, that doesn't come with making final decisions. There's still a team. There's still bosses to report to. It's just having the authority to represent to ensure the integrity of the business is what my day-to-day role entails.
Okay. We're going to go back a little bit because how did you realize that you wanted to take on a more executive role versus like being an engineer and being in the studio?
So when I was an engineer back in the day, I had a chance. I was working for like Convict Music and Boo Vision, and
Blue Vision.
love Boo Vision. Shouts out Boo. You know what I'm saying? But I remember just being in the studio days on days, and like 8, 12 hours would pass, and we done made all these great new songs, and then like the executive would come in for like 15, 20 minutes and like hype us up, play the song, stop the song. Oh, y'all killing it. Play the song again, give you this whole speech or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he out. You know what I'm saying? Because he set everything up, he's responsible for all the pieces, resources, and everybody that's there. He doesn't have to be present because what he set up is taking place.
Right.
So he came to check on it. It's working. It's cool. Bet. So that put me in the mindset of, man, my intelligence has been getting me paid thus far, but it's kind of like I want my decisions to get me paid. So even though I had already had a degree in recording arts, I went back to school to get a degree in music business to understand how to get closer to the bank because I knew how to create music for the most part. Of course, you never stop learning with that, but getting closer to the bank is what gets you closer to the money, and that's ultimately what we're doing it for. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
Because you are your own industry. But anyway.
We're going to get into it. So you've mentioned how important relationships are in building relationships. How do you keep those real relationships versus like transactional? Like, how do you know which is what? How do you approach those?
Um, it really just depends because there's different levels of it. Like transactional relationships can still be as valuable as your personal relationships, but it relates to a different aspect of you. So my personal relationships are for those that actually are friends with my government name. And it's not about my position at a company or what I represent or what resources I have access to. But in that same regard, when it's somebody that it is on that level, it's an exchange of value. So it's like because people try to pit that as like one's fake, one's real, but it's
Yeah.
just like both are real. But if we can exchange value, cool. Now when we go back to our personal life and we just recharging for the
Yeah.
world, that's a whole different situation because it's like your work is not your life, but your life includes your work. That's a good one. I just came up with that one too.
This is actually what I wanted to say. When I was watching KK's Corner, she was like, "You like the culture, Dr. Seuss," and I'm like, "That's so real." Like your
Shouts
next,
out KK.
yes, shout out KK because that was awesome. I was like, "That's so real." Well, yeah, that's true. I definitely can relate to that, and yeah. um, my next question is, I'm sure you get approached like a lot by random people. Like I know executives or just people that are high up. They always get people like sending them music or like and you probably don't have the time to check everything. But in situations like that, like I want to know, what are some red flags to you when getting approached?
No,
Or just being an industry professional in
I
general.
mean, you mean like, is it like in person? Is it via email? Is it online? Because it's happening every which way.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? But in person's a little bit different. It's probably the most connected thing because you're actually getting one-on-one time with the individual. And the biggest thing I try to steer into is education because regardless of what a person is trying to do, is understanding where they're at and at the same time where the person that they're talking to is at. So there's not like a miscommunication because no one's better than anybody. We're just in different positions and require different ammunition in order to shoot the target that we're trying to take down. So for a lot of artists, it's like, hey, the biggest thing I can help you with right now is just making sure that you are kind of moving in the right direction because your momentum is what you're in charge of. Once your momentum gets to a certain thing, and that doesn't mean like everybody knows you, but I like to call myself like a professional consumer because like I'm still immersed in the culture. I kind of stay aware of what's going on. So if it comes across my frequency, it's like, oh, like it gives me a chance to look at it to see, is this going to be something? Does this fit? And it's like, it's a lot more politics involved just other than, is this good music? Like things have to make sense on so many levels for it to make sense on the level they want.
Things have to make sense on so many levels and the level that they want.
Things have to make sense on so many levels to make it make sense for the level that they want.
Okay. Thank you.
They want something simple, like I just want to get a record deal with you. Like, okay, but a lot more things have to make sense on my end in order for that one thing to exist for you.
That's so true. And people, they're not thinking of that. So, yeah.
And I don't fault them for that because, nor should they.
Why? Because the team.
This is a team, and the things that I handle. Let's put it like this: the biggest weight that a leader carries, right, is knowing information before they can share information. And that is a privilege and a luxury in a business because it's like, okay, so you kind of understand how to move and influence your team to get to a certain directive, but you're also aware of the straight up truth of what's going on. So sometimes that's a kind of like a heavy weight to carry and still being a motivating source for other individuals.
I agree. That is so true. Wow.
I told you before we got on camera we was finna do this now.
Like I'm here thinking like, damn. But yeah, okay. Artists, take this in. I told y'all it was gonna be informative. But a lot of people don't get the chance to work alongside names like DJ Drama and Don Cannon. Mm-hmm. What's some advice, or have you gotten any advice from them throughout the years that you can share, or that was very like memorable to you?
I mean, it's more in how they operate more than, I mean, they definitely motivate you and are down to, have one-on-ones to just kind of assess where you're at in your career. But it's more about the spaces that they put you in speak louder than more of the words that they say, because they give you a chance with responsibility, and it starts off in the smallest level and it'll go as high as they can trust you to take it. So when I first came in, I was just a studio manager. Like, I used to engineer for Atlantic. That's how I started working, at the actual studio.
Yeah.
And I would give like certain directives to the staff when they were having problems, not like on some like trying to be bossy type thing, but I'd be there for a session and they'd be like, I don't know what to do about this. And I'm just like, well, consider this. And then, Drum caught wind of that a few times. And at that time, I'm working there and I'm also working at ASCAP. And I'm just trying to make enough money to continue to do this music thing. So.
Right.
They ended up, making me an offer I, couldn't refuse type of thing. So,
when you stepped into the position of general manager, were you nervous at all about taking such a huge role at a label like this?
I mean, yes and no. It's like knowing that what you know is enough to kind of like make you ready for the position, but what you don't know is what you haven't experienced yet in the position and what you represent and how can you get certain decisions to be accomplished, and certain ones are going to lean on you. Like, of course, certain decisions you have to report to your bosses or whatnot, but then other ones are based on your decision making skills. So it's like I want that, like I take pride in the fact, like, after the owners and the notable legends that are the company, it's like, hey, how you doing? I'm Royce Monroe. Like, that's a thing, because it's like I work for legends, and then so if I'm that close, you feel what I'm saying? Like, my decisions is representing legends.
Absolutely.
What are we talking about? Like,
absolutely, yeah. So in terms of the generation now and what you guys are working on or doing in the future, you just signed Kai Cash. How has that been, having him on the label? Like, what are some things you can share about the progress that y'all have been doing?
It's been real refreshing, because even given what's taken place over the past 6 months, whatever, with like the beef and all that type of stuff in hip hop, it's like it's brought it back to where people are appreciating just like the core of hip hop, which is like lyrics and the beat production. No knock to all the amazing records that have auto tune and everything else, but in hip hop, it's just like that sector has been underserviced and not represented in the new age. It's not like it's a super adults doing it. It's still, what I'm saying, young adults that are a representation of the generation now.
Absolutely. Of the generation now.
You got to plug it.
Hello. All right, let's talk about is it Gen 2.0?
Gen Now 2.0.
Can you explain what that is, or why you guys kind of installed that?
Well, I mean, up until this point, we've been the company has been in existence since about 2013, if I'm not mistaken. But we've laid a lot of groundwork thus far, because having one superstar is amazing, but being able to kind of replicate that and still build off the legacy of like the founding fathers of it, because like with Drum and Cannon winning Grammys, and it's just like, it's so fortunate to be a part of an organization that like we're headlining for different reasons, right, from different perspectives of the industry or whatnot. So 2.0 is just about letting people know that it's not over. Like, we have a lot of plans and a lot of things that we're working on that are gonna, it's like our slogan is watch what comes next. So between the preview that we're giving you with Kai Cash and the other acts that we're working on and locking in to...
I love Student University or something.
Student of the Game?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. So, and that's a new show that's on Gangsta Grills Network. It's really about just seeing if everybody in this game, whether young, old, or whatever, is a student of the game. You get 10 questions. If you get 6 of them right, you qualify for extra credit.
Okay.
If you get extra credit, it means you pass with a 70. Thus far, I think the best score has been like 9 out of 10. No one's gotten straight up 10 out of 10 on the show.
Was it Anicia?
I think Anicia is one of them. Okay. I'm not gonna give everybody away, but there's like 3 winners. But she's hilarious. Make sure you go check that out.
She's so funny. But okay, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what Generation Now has coming. It is a very progressive label, always in the mix. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Let's get into this book.
Okay, let's talk about it.
You
Let's
are
go.
now an author. You Are Your Own Industry is your latest release.
Yeah, yo.
Can you tell me a little bit about what made you even want to write this book? What was the thought behind it?
Sure. So really, it started maybe 3 or 4 years ago where I first had this book to like, I had this idea for a book where I was going to like take all the quotes that I would put on social media and like turn it into like this workbook thing. And as I was crafting that, so it was called I Motivate 365 Days of Change. So it had 365 quotes in it. And it's like you would read a quote a day and then you would write your interpretation of the quote. And that way, by the end of the book, you have a book of your own motivation, pound, I motivate. You know what I'm saying? So,
That.
but as I was doing that, the problem that I found is that with where I was at in my career and things like that, like it wasn't aligning for me to be able to effectively sell it without it looking like a pivot from what I actually do. So it's like, okay, in the book, in that initial idea, I'm selling a mindset versus trying to utilize that mindset and provide education to individuals. So, and getting into like speaking engagements and so on and so forth, I found that I was like giving out the same advice, like, like ridiculously repetitiously. Like it was just like I'm telling people the same thing, and it's like to myself, I'm like, am I full of it? Because I like this sounds like it fits that, and that. So at the top of last year, I was like, you know what? Before the end of the year, I'm gonna write a manuscript for this first book because my goal was to start doing a master class. But then I thought about it because I attend master classes just like it's like what something that nobody knows, like a secret hobby. Like when you see the
Yeah.
master classes for like tax information or like buying real estate, sometimes I just go just to be like, let me do something different.
You're like a sponge for knowledge.
You understand what I'm saying? So I was like, I want to do a master class for, letting people know that you are your own industry. I said, but I don't have anything to sell at the end. Because at the end of every master class, they're trying to make you buy something, So
Okay.
I just I took what I had as a PowerPoint presentation and kind of started breaking it down to really get as meticulous as possible to say, how can I help someone that just has an aspiration, doesn't have any education or anything, they just have an aspiration for what they want to do, and how can I tell them to be set up for whatever is supposed to happen once you obtain a little bit of success. So this is essentially not just a book where it just gives you a bunch of information to understand things.
Yeah.
It's literally a guide. So by chapter 16, you fully know how to be set up, where you can gain funding from, how you're supposed to act with the funding, and what you can do to maximize the funding so it's not an ongoing thing, along with being creative in your rollout and your constant promotion of whatever the product is that you're selling.
Okay. And this is inclusive to almost everyone? Or is it more so entertainment industry based?
It's written from the perspective of an entertainment industry, but anybody that's trying to get started in any business needs to read it because the same ideologies apply.
Okay.
If we were selling a baked good, we would still have to make the good. We would have to figure out packaging, marketing,
market it.
funding in order to continue to bake the good, figure out how much we want to bake before we know how much we're going to make. Like it's all these same factors that go into any form of business. A lot of people think music business is a lot different than other businesses, and it's not as far as your setup. Now, where you gain the revenue from, it works a little different because there's royalties and 1099s and so on and so forth. But this kind of helps people break the mold of a 9 to 5 mental structure and get into how, like, this is your structure. Like, it is what you make it type of thing. You are your own industry.
All you got to do is take that risk, take that first step. Thank you for explaining that. I will definitely be reading this. As you can see, I was already doing that, but this is where my head's at. Can we expect more books from you in the future?
I have 2 other books planned, right? But the thing that I'm conscious of is that these things are forever, So a lot of people, once they see you doing something and it's starting to work, they're like, oh, you know what you need to do? It's a lot of you know what you need to do. And I'm just like, I already do know what I need to do. And it's not that I don't hear the idea, but it's like, essentially, that's more of a thing to keep it going. Like,
Yeah.
if what I'm doing right now is providing the programming and the impact that I'm going for, I don't need to add additional initiatives at this point. I'll need those initiatives 6, 12, 24 months from now, depending upon how this goes type of thing. Because my biggest thing is I'm still working. Like I'm still like the book is great, and that's why I want to package it up and give the information. But I'm still doing what I have to do to be valid enough to pitch this information to you because I'm in the field right now. I'm at war, reporting back to the States.
Yeah. And you're possibly like still garnering information as you
Correct.
grow, like even in your role for this long. But yeah, I will say that I do expect the book in the next whatever amount of years. I know it's going to be completely different. This feels like the foundation of everything, and I know that I expect great things.
I tell you, the book that's going to happen eventually is called Designers versus Survivors.
What do you
And
mean by that?
essentially, in life, for anybody that's trying to accomplish anything, we all start off as survivors. We're surviving our life. And at some point, some of us, a small percentage of us, make the decision that I'm going to do what I have to do in order to start designing my life. And even if it's in the smallest capacity, the first thing that people start designing initially is just like their clothing, like how they look to the world. But then it's like when you dress how you want to dress and you live where you want to live and you drive what you want to drive and you buy what you want to buy and you can do for your family how you want to do, like you've designed your entire life. It's not about what can I do, it's about what do I want to do. And so it kind of builds on this book because I'm a real mindset kind of person. Like I don't have to give you the answer. I have to give you the structure that allows you to make the answer.
And
type
start
of thing.
Thinking the things that you need to be thought.
Because you don't get in.
You're merging.
Okay.
Hello. Yes. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that. Everyone, please go and get your hands on this book. You Are Your Own Industry by Mr. Royce Monroe. You definitely need it. The next question I want to ask is, if you had a movie to your life, what would be like the opening soundtrack in light of music?
In light of music,
What would be the opening soundtrack to?
what would be the? You know what it'd be? It would be Billie Eilish, "Birds of a Feather."
What?
That would be the opening. Yeah, my movie come on. What? I want you to stay. It's gonna go crazy.
Yo, I'm gonna make a recap of this episode, and it's gonna have that song over it.
Listen, man, Billy killed that one. That right there.
She
My
did, she
my
did.
windows up. I'm in there singing that to the top of my lungs for sure.
It is timeless. I'll say that. So I like to close out the episodes with asking the guests what's one piece of advice that they've learned since being on their journey. I feel like you're in a very important position, and I know that you've learned a lot of stuff since working in music or in entertainment. What's like one key piece of advice? It doesn't even have to be one, because I know this like shrinking it down.
Here we go.
Okay,
I was ready for this. I had it in my back pocket this
Okay,
whole time.
shoot.
Now, the more that you don't make it about you, it'll be all about you.
So be cool.
No, it's like I'm here to help other people, right? And the more I'm able to help other people and be of service and be a vessel and a conduit for whatever they're trying to manifest, I become a source of that, you know? So being of service to people makes it to where they can't live without that service.
Wait. Wait. Okay, wait. That's it. Thank you. I mean, I'm going to sit with that, actually. But, okay.
Yeah, all
yes,
that.
literally. Well, that concludes this episode of The Mix. Royce, thank you so much for joining me. I know that I'm very grateful to have you here. To our viewers, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Mix. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Deuces.
We in the mix.
We in the mix. Hello.